Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Bleach video. This one I'm going to talk about some of my speculation about what I think the final chapter of Bleach, chapter 686, what's going to happen there, and also speculate on what I think this upcoming special announcement that's going to also come with the last chapter of Bleach, what those two big things are. So, I think the most important thing to talk about, I suppose, is just I did my live reaction / review last week, and I kind of missed out on a couple of things because I was kind of doing it there and then. I didn't give myself a chance to really kind of look over the chapter and really kind of analyze it. I was kind of just there on camera doing it. And obviously, the big panel people were talking about was a very small panel, and that I just kind of skipped over doing the live read through. And I think a lot of people skipped over it until obviously the community analyzed it, and that was obviously the panel with the little bit of kind of shadow coming up out of the ground as they transition from the first Kyoraku scene into the Mayuri scene. So you can see that panel here. And obviously, this is the big thing that this combined with how the chapter ends with like, okay, this spiritual pressure Ryatsu is very similar to Yuha's from 10 years ago. It kind of leads you to believe that, okay, this happy ending is going to be broken in the final chapter. But why on earth would they have the final chapter end like this? And that's the super confusing thing heading into this final chapter. Ichigo wasn't in 685. He wasn't even mentioned. And we obviously have to end with something about him. That combined with the fact that in 684 we just ended with the fight, the way it ended was just a final blow. No aftermath, no resolution about Yuha's powers, what he was doing, how exactly the actual like attack of the Quincy's came to an end, any resolution after that, and you're just left with so many questions going into 686, because they're going to have to obviously cover Ichigo. They're going to have to, I think, absolutely explain where the power of the Soul King went. Because they've established a bunch of times that the Soul King is like the linchpin. Him existing and his power is what keeps the various worlds from kind of crumbling apart. In that little transition point that we had between Yuha killing the Soul King and then basically absorbing the power and becoming the new one, we basically saw the world about to crumble apart. And I assume something similar must have happened when Ichigo killed Yuha. That the question is, who got that power? Is Yuha still alive? Does he still have that power? And the resolution to the fight is just that they killed him, and there was nothing about the Soul King power because Yuha was still kind of alive. Or did Ichigo take the power as the that's the Quincy that was most obviously there, main character? Would he take that? Or Aizen? Aizen was just kind of taken out in 84 and just kind of disappeared. Like he was just kind of engulfed by Yuha's shadow powers, and we didn't see him again after that. So we assume if Yuha was killed, Aizen probably came back, or else he's just combined with the power overall and he is the Soul King now, more or less. Because obviously it's established that he's invincible, immortal, because otherwise they would have killed him instead of keeping him alive. That they put him in kind of the chair and stuff like that, all the keto to bind him because they couldn't actually just kill him. So I doubt Yuha killed him. So there's a lot of potential options for just that, and I think that's the most obvious thing where like we kind of have to accept that they're not going to resolve like, okay, everyone's Bankai, all this other stuff with that potentially is set up. But they do, I think, have to address this really important thing about like the fabric of the universe only exists because of the Soul King's power. They have to address that, and who has it. So Yuha's spiritual pressure like is coming back. The little bit of shadow thing that fits that. Some people are speculating it could be like that Ukitake is the Soul King now, because obviously he had the connection to the Mimihage, and they say he's dead, but maybe something happened there. He probably is dead. I doubt it's him. I don't think it would have as much meaning to just kind of confirm that Ukitake is the Soul King now. I think it is between Yuha's return, Ichigo, and Aizen. So that leads to just what will they do in 686? And how do they end it? Either they're just going to kind of leave the kind of shadow thing out there as just like, okay, there is always going to be a threat in the Bleach universe of something coming back, and they just leave it there. That, okay, it's relatively happy now, but Ichigo continues to fight, and that's the kind of happy ending, but that the universe still continues. The other way they do it is that they kind of have this really shocking last chapter where Yuha does come back, and he's annihilating everyone. Like everyone's happy after like Rukia becoming captain and stuff like that. We see a brief fight between all the captains and Yuha, but he kind of obliterates them. Ichigo arrives, has his last heroic moment. Much older, 27-year-old Ichigo comes in. He's prepared for this and just takes out Yuha, and it's the final big moment of Ichigo coming in to save the day, and then we get a resolution on him. They kind of have the threat in the final chapter, but resolve it very quickly, or they use Yuha's return to set up a sequel manga series. As I said, I'll get into more of my thoughts on what I think the special announcement will be later on. This is just speculation for the chapter itself. So one option is, of course, that they kind of leave it open. Now, this would obviously have to be a kind of series naming transition, where like the chapter following this, if there is a sequel manga, would be a chapter 1 of like Bleach, or E, or Bleach Shippuden or something like that. Bleach the Next Generation. They do something like that, but I'm not really sure what they do there, because I think if this is actually going to be the very last chapter of Bleach, that we're not getting any other story, they kind of have to do the good ending, and that like they confirm like potentially like if Ichigo had any romances, what he's doing right now, and just have Ichigo have a final moment with the Soul Reapers and kind of figure out what's going on there. He's always going to help them if they need to, but he's committed himself to the world of the living for the most part. Other than that, like I can't see them focusing too much on any other characters. Like it's gonna be like Renji, Rukia, Ichigo, maybe Uryu. I can't really see them doing much with Chad or Hime. I think it purely depends on if they commit to Ichigo or Hime, if she will be in any way involved in this last chapter. Other than that, I'm not really sure who they'd actually use, because I can't see them giving a lot of time to any of the other captains or anything like that. That's what the last chapter was about, 685. It was just about confirming what's happening with the Soul Society. So that's really about all there is to talk about. Like, I honestly can't imagine what other way it can end. It's either just going to be Ichigo arrives, and it's just him. He now has all that power. He is effectively the Soul King. His spiritual pressure ends up being quite similar to Yuha's, and it's just that he's come back to see Rukia's ceremony, and we just continue the happy ending that we had in 685. Or you have the two different approaches to Yuha's return. Instant defeat as a final epic moment of the series, or something bigger that sets up more going into the future. If it's Aizen, if that's how they go with it, they'd probably have to do some sort of character development thing with Aizen, where he's accepting of the need of the Soul King now that he is the Soul King and is going to commit to the role or something like that. And it's okay, Aizen's the Soul King, we're not quite happy about it, but he doesn't seem like he's going to do anything crazy, something like that. I don't really know. I said I don't really know a lot, because there's just it's kind of baffling, the situation that we're in that everything kind of points to the fact that Shonen Jump have rushed Kubo to this ending, and that this isn't how it's meant to be ending. But at the same time, the way Shonen Jump have talked about this, it hasn't kind of come across like this series is coming to an end. Like, admittedly, they don't seem to have the biggest respect for Bleach at the moment, and so why would they care a massive amount if they're trying to get rid of it? But at the same time, I think they're still aware that it is still quite popular. There is a big community of people who follow it just because it's such an important, long-running manga. Yet they haven't actually officially announced, like, that full stop, Bleach is over. Like, we had the announcement, yes, that next week is the final chapter, but it just doesn't feel as big as it perhaps should feel. Like say, the last chapter of Naruto, like, it felt like a big ending and stuff like that. This is like not so much, especially because of that kind of last page, the dual, half and half page of like like I think about a third of the page is focused on Bleach is coming to an end, final chapter next issue, and then like 2/3 of the page is big announcement next week about Bleach. So that's kind of the stuff that kind of leads you to believe that perhaps there's some sort of a tricky plan going on here, where like it comes across like Shonen Jump don't care about Bleach and it's coming to an end, but it's just a false ending to set up a sequel manga, which is maybe what the secret announcement is. Which I suppose let's get into that speculation now. On the lower end of things, people are expecting, like at the very, very least, what this has to be is a data book. One final data book for Bleach where we just get all of these characters, we find out all of the characters' bankais, what their powers are, names of Zanpakutos that we never got, so like New Squad 7 Captain, Tetsuzaimon, like we still need to know what his sword is called. Tell us about the people's bankais, resolve a couple of other things, maybe there's like a final special kind of just fun chapter included in the data book and stuff like that, and that they'd announce. Like that's at the very least what people expect from this announcement. Some people are saying it will be a Bleach kind of OVA or Bleach movie. I personally can't see that happening. The Bleach Bleach anime returning is something I think everyone wants, just because it's a potential way for the manga story to kind of end in a more effective way if the anime studio kind of extends out the ending and stuff like that. That's obviously something we'd really like. And if indeed 686 is going to be the final chapter, then that's just like, okay, look, there's the story. That's everything that you need to animate. You don't have to worry about making filler episodes up. You just have all of the content that you have to make, and you can just focus on getting that across in the best way possible. Which I think is probably what a lot of the problems were, that Bleach was effectively cancelled as an anime because there was just so many fillers. People didn't seem to like the Fullbring arc, but this is a pretty big arc, and like even though the pacing of it was quite like all over the place, the fights are big, the stakes are high, big stuff happens fairly regularly in it, and I can just imagine in anime form where they kind of put a bunch of chapters per episode, it would work a lot better. So I think there is a big like plus side to the anime coming back, and that like it could be successful. But yeah, that's just one potential thing. Sequel manga is obviously like the kind of big one. That would be like the biggest kind of thing that is definitely a possibility. I don't think it's just flat out not possible at all. Some people are saying it's either going to be continuing in Shonen Jump, just under a different name, or it could be switching which magazine it's going to be in. But I'm not really sure. I don't know, like there's obviously that new thing, what is it, kind of My Jump that launched. I ultimately don't think there's anything overly special about that, in that just seems to be a digital service to get the different mangas for like cheaper, and that like you pay a certain monthly fee and you can get this many series, the new chapters as they come out. I can't see them doing something where like Bleach 2 or whatever they call it is just a My Jump exclusive thing, and that's how it happens. Because it just seems weird that like Bleach, they just don't want it in the official magazine, and so they'll make it digital only. If it is going to be a new manga, I think it's going to be like just full on announced, and it'll happen. What it would be about, obviously depends on whatever 686 is about. Like there's the chance of like, given that Ichigo would be like 27, there's a chance that he's had children already, and you could do something where like you do an even further time skip, and that his kids or child has to defeat whatever evil he couldn't or something like that. Do the kind of Boruto thing like with Naruto. Can't see them really going down that road. If it is a kind of continuing series, it's gonna be like the big draw of like the characters are older now, the stakes are higher. We're aiming this at an older audience. It's not quite Shonen Jump. It's going to be a bit more violent. Maybe that's where the magazine shift will come in somehow. But there's that. Other than that, like, there's a chance like they could announce a video game. I personally can't see that happening, just because if Bleach isn't popular enough to have the anime come back, I can't see them just being like, okay, Bleach is popular enough to get a game. I kind of get the impression where, like, if the anime does come back, like, that would probably be the thing that prompts games to happen rather than the other way around. Um, but yeah, like, it's really difficult to speculate on this. I think the positive though about this is that a lot more people now are just kind of feeling like this doesn't quite feel like the end. We're not just going to hit next Thursday and be like Bleach is over forever. There's something more to this, in that even if it is just a data book and Bleach is full on ending, there's still a lot to talk about in that data book. If it is indeed everything we kind of want, all the questions answered and stuff like that, that's going to be huge. If it's done in the right way. And anything else it could be, like, even if it is like a Bleach movie to kind of round off the series, that's cool. The anime obviously is going to get people hyped. That'll kind of bring the community back just to kind of watch every week as it comes out. And just sequel manga is just like cool, interesting. They haven't lost complete faith in whatever's happening. So that's about all I wanted to say here. And actually, the one thing I actually forgot to mention is just that a lot of this speculation has come about because of a line Yuha said in, I think, chapter 680. It's the panel where he kind of says, like even if you manage to somehow escape me this time, I will find a point in the future where you're at your most happiest, and then I'll kill you. And because of it's only like 5 chapters ago, that means it was after that initial announcement of like under 10 weeks to go in Bleach until it's over. That means that if it is indeed the fact that Kubo's being rushed, that line was placed in as part of this rushed ending written conclusion to the series, and so it was placed there for a reason. And then it's like that panel plus the one of the shadow coming up out of the ground from the most recent chapter, just those 2 panels alone have people speculating that that is why there's hope in the future of something happening. That's why 686 is going to be bigger than we expect. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are, what you think the big announcement is going to be, what you think 686 is actually going to be about, what will they resolve, what will they focus on, and basically all of that stuff. So that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.